My sister called me at midnight. Not a text, not an email, an actual phone call, voice shaking so bad I could barely understand her words. "Ashley, don't ask questions. Just listen. An FBI agent is here. He says you need to leave your house right now. He says it's not safe." I remember sitting up in bed, my heart already pounding. My wife Jennifer was asleep next to me, and I didn't want to wake her. Not yet. Not until I understood what the hell was happening. "What do you mean an FBI agent? What are you talking about, Linda?" "I can't explain on the phone," my sister whispered. "He's right here. He says you have maybe 10 minutes before they show up at your place. You need to go. Now." The line went dead. I sat there in the dark for maybe 5 seconds, frozen. Just 5 seconds. Then my survival instinct kicked in, and suddenly I was moving. My hands were shaking as I grabbed jeans and a hoodie. Jennifer woke up. "What's happening? Where are you going?" "I don't know yet," I said, and I meant it. "Just stay here, lock the door, I'll call you." But even as I said it, I knew something had broken open, something that had been buried so deep, I'd almost convinced myself it didn't exist. And now it was pulling me under. 3 years earlier, my life looked like the kind of life they show in furniture commercials. Picture perfect. The kind that makes people jealous. I'm Michael Harrison, 42 years old, and I'd spent the last 15 years building something I was genuinely proud of. Not a massive empire or anything, but solid, real. I own a mid-sized accounting firm in Columbus, Ohio, Harrison & Associates. 12 employees, 75 clients, annual revenue around $1.8 million. Nothing flashy, but the kind of business that pays the mortgage, funds the 401k, and lets you sleep at night knowing you built it yourself. Jennifer and I bought our house in Worthington in 2015. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, brick front, 2-car garage. We paid $385,000 for it. It's the kind of neighborhood where the HOA actually cares about lawn maintenance, where your neighbors know your name, where you see the same faces at the Whole Foods on weekends. We've got maybe $120,000 left on the mortgage. Our daughter is 12. Her name is Sophie. She plays soccer, does well in school, has braces that will be coming off next year. Our son is 9. That's Marcus. He's obsessed with baseball cards and Fortnite, like every other kid his age. Normal. Happy. The kind of kids who fight over the last waffle on Sunday morning and make you laugh even when you're exhausted. Jennifer and I met in college. She studied business communications. I was doing accounting. We got married at 25, had Sophie at 28. She works part-time as a marketing consultant, flexible hours so she can handle school pickups and soccer tournaments. We split everything pretty evenly at home, though I'll be honest, she does more of the heavy lifting with the kids' schedule. That's something I've always felt a little guilty about, staying late at the office more than I probably needed to. Money was never tight, but it wasn't abundant either. We lived comfortably. We took one nice vacation a year, usually somewhere warm in March. We had friends over for barbecues in the summer. We paid our taxes on time, donated to the local food bank, the whole picture. I'd never missed a mortgage payment, never bounced a check, never gotten a speeding ticket that I didn't deserve. My business partner was a guy named Daniel Kozlov. We'd worked together since 2012, met through a mutual client. He handled the client relationships and operations side of things. I managed the financials and the bigger picture strategy. We'd built the firm together from a 2-person operation to what it was now. I genuinely liked him. Or I thought I did. We'd grab lunch every couple weeks, talk about the business, about our families. He had a wife, Melissa, and 2 kids of his own. We'd had them over for dinner a few times. Normal, pleasant people. Daniel was good at his job. Clients loved him. He was the face of the company while I was the brain behind the numbers. Everything looked fine. Everything looked fine until the morning in early September when I noticed something wrong in the accounts receivable. A discrepancy. Nothing huge, about $7,400 that didn't quite line up between our internal records and the bank deposits from the previous month. I figured it was probably just a data entry error. I called Daniel into my office. "Hey, can you look at this?" I showed him the screen. Something's off with the Riverside medical deposit from August. The invoice total is $7,400, but the deposit was only $5,200. Daniel looked at the numbers for maybe 3 seconds. Then he stood up. I'll check with the client. Might be a partial payment situation we forgot to note. Yeah, okay, I said. Let me know what you find. He didn't find anything, because there was nothing to find, not in the way he was looking anyway. That was the first crack. The moment everything started to shift beneath my feet, even though I didn't know it yet. I spent the next 3 weeks chasing ghosts. That's what it felt like anyway. Every morning I'd wake up, kiss Jennifer goodbye, tell the kids I loved them, and drive to the office with my stomach already twisted into knots. I'd pull up the files, cross-reference the deposits, trace the wire transfers. The deeper I dug, the sicker I felt. The discrepancies weren't random. They weren't mistakes. They were systematic, methodical. Someone had been skimming money from client accounts, small enough not to trigger alarms, but consistent. Over a year and a half, the total came to $127,000. $127,000 that didn't belong to Daniel Kozlov. I remember sitting alone in my office on a Tuesday morning, the spreadsheet glowing on my screen, and I couldn't move. I couldn't call anyone. I couldn't tell Jennifer. Not yet. Not until I understood exactly what I was looking at. My hands were shaking so badly I had to put the mouse down. I called Daniel's cell. He answered on the second ring. Hey, what's up? Can you come in? I need to talk to you about something. There was a pause, just long enough for me to know he understood. Yeah, okay, give me 20 minutes. He showed up in 35, coffee in hand like it was just another day. He sat down across from my desk, and I watched his face. I've known this man for 12 years. We'd built something together, and now I was looking at him like he was a stranger. I found the transfers, I said quietly. I turned the monitor toward him. Every one. Riverside Medical, CrossFit Plus, the dental clinic on 4th Street. You've been moving money from their accounts to a dummy LLC registered in Melissa's maiden name. Triton Services. Ring any bells? Daniel didn't look at the screen. He just looked at me. His jaw tightened. Michael, don't, I said. Don't tell me it's not what it looks like. I can see exactly what it is. I want to know why. He stood up, didn't say anything, just stood there for a solid 10 seconds. Then he walked out, closed the door quietly behind him. Not a word, not an explanation, nothing. I heard him on the phone in the hallway, his voice low. We need to move the money, all of it, today. Then footsteps, and he was gone. That's when I knew it was bad. That's when I understood this wasn't going to end with a conversation and a resignation. This was going to end with lawyers, with police, with everything I'd built disintegrating in front of me. I called our accountant, Rick Brennan, told him to freeze all accounts immediately and flag every transaction from the past 2 years. Then I called Jennifer. I need you to do something, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I need you to call our bank and put a freeze on everything. Don't let anyone withdraw money except you and me. Use the secure password. Michael, what are you talking about? What happened? Daniel's been stealing from clients, a lot of money. I don't know what's about to happen, but I need you to protect us first. Can you do that? Silence. Then, oh my God. Oh my God, are you serious? Yes, do it now, please. By that afternoon, the story had leaked. I didn't tell anyone, I know I didn't, but somehow word got out. My office manager, Sheila, called me into the break room, where she was talking to 2 of my junior accountants. They went quiet when they saw me. I already knew what they'd heard. Let's move this to my office, I said. I gathered the team, all 12 of them, and I told them the truth. Daniel had been embezzling. The firm was going to be investigated. We were going to get through this, but things were going to be uncomfortable for a while. I could see the fear in their faces. These people had mortgages, they had families, and suddenly their paychecks were in question. By the next morning, 2 of them had already found new jobs. The FBI showed up on Friday. 2 agents in dark suits, very polite, very professional. They had a warrant. They took every computer, every external drive, every file box from the office. They asked me detailed questions about my relationship with Daniel, about the firm's internal controls, about whether I'd noticed anything unusual. I answered everything. "Am I a suspect?" I asked. "Everyone's a person of interest initially," one of them said. His name was Agent Morrison. He had kind eyes, which somehow made it worse. "But based on the paper trail, it's pretty clear you discovered this, not the other way around." After they left, I sat in my empty office and called my lawyer. Her name is Karen Chen. We'd hired her 3 years ago for some contract work. She listened to everything. Then she said, "Michael, I need you to understand something. Even though you reported this, even though you're not the one who stole the money, this is still going to be a nightmare. The firm's reputation is damaged, your clients are going to panic, and the civil liability is going to be enormous." "How enormous?" "The clients Daniel stole from will sue the firm. They'll claim breach of fiduciary duty. They'll demand restitution plus damages. If the firm can't cover it all, they could come after you personally." I felt something collapse in my chest. "So I'm looking at losing the firm." "You're looking at a lot of possibilities," Karen said carefully. "None of them are good. But the first thing we do is get ahead of the notifications. We call every single client whose account he touched. We explain what happened. We tell them we're cooperating fully with the FBI. And we start the process of making them whole." That's what I did. For 2 weeks, I made phone calls. I sat through angry conversations with people who trusted me. I watched the business I'd spent 15 years building collapse like a house of cards. 3 major clients left immediately. 2 others told me they were putting their accounts under review. One client, a guy named Tom who ran a medical practice and had been with me since the beginning, actually yelled at me. "How did you let this happen? I trusted you with my money." And all I could say was, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Jennifer tried to be supportive, but I could see the fear in her eyes. This wasn't just about money, though it was definitely about money. This was about our family's stability, our name, our future. Everything we'd worked for was suddenly uncertain. By the end of the 2nd week, I wasn't sleeping. I'd lie in bed next to Jennifer, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning through worst-case scenarios. We had maybe 8 months of operating expenses saved. The civil suits could take years to resolve. Our house could be at risk. My credit score was probably already tanking because of all the stress and the implications. On Thursday of the 3rd week, I got a call from an FBI field supervisor. She said they'd traced Daniel's transfers. He'd moved most of the stolen money to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, but some of it, about $89,000, was still in the U.S., in a money market account under a corporate shell. "We're freezing it," she said, "and we're building a case for federal wire fraud and money laundering. We'll need you to testify eventually." That was supposed to be good news. That meant we could recover some of the money. But all I could think was, I'm going to have to sit in a courtroom and tell a judge that my business partner, my friend, stole from our clients. I'm going to have to relive this nightmare in front of strangers. That Friday night, I didn't go home. I drove to a hotel in downtown Columbus, checked in under a fake name. I don't even know why, some desperate impulse to disappear. And I sat in a dark room and I cried. Not a little bit. I'm talking about the kind of crying that comes from somewhere so deep inside you that it feels like it's tearing you apart from the inside. I'd failed. Not just as a business owner, but as a provider, as a father, as someone worthy of trust. Daniel had stolen from me while I was paying his salary, while we were shaking hands at client meetings, while we were talking about our kids' futures. And I hadn't seen it. I'd been blind. The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. It was my sister Linda. "Where are you?" she asked immediately. "Jennifer called me. She's freaking out. She said you disappeared." "I'm in a hotel," I said. My voice didn't sound like my own. "I needed to get away." "Michael, you need to listen to me. Something's wrong, really wrong. Daniel called me." That stopped me. "What? Why would he call you?" "I don't know. He said he got my number from your office directory. He said he needed to talk to you, that there were things about the case that weren't what they seemed. He sounded angry." really angry. And then he said something that scared me. He said, "Your brother is going to be very sorry he did this to me." I felt something cold move through my body. "Linda, I need you to go to Jennifer's house right now. Don't ask questions, just go. Make sure she and the kids are safe." "Michael, what's happening?" "Just go, please." I hung up and called Karen. It went to voicemail. I called the FBI field office and asked for Agent Morrison. Got transferred around until I finally reached the night desk. Told them about the call. Told them I was worried about my family. The agent on the phone said, "Sir, I'm going to have someone reach out to your sister and make sure your family is protected. Where are you right now?" I gave them the hotel name. As soon as I hung up, I turned on the news, local Columbus station. And there it was, third story of the night. Local accountant questioned in embezzlement case. They didn't use my name. They said a 42-year-old business owner. But they had photos of the office building. They had quotes from clients. They had the whole story, and it was wrong. It made me sound guilty. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Michael, this is Agent Morrison with the FBI." His voice was different now, urgent. "I need you to listen very carefully. Your business partner, Daniel Kozlov, we need to find him. He left his home about 2 hours ago, and he told his wife he was coming to find you. He took a gun from a safe in their garage. We have units searching the hotel you mentioned, but I need you to move, right now. Get out of that room. Go to a public place. Don't be alone." The words didn't make sense for a second. Then they did. "Is he coming here?" "We don't know where he is," Agent Morrison said, "but we're taking this very seriously. Michael, you need to move, now." I grabbed my wallet and my keys. I didn't even put on shoes. I just ran. I ran, not like a person making a rational choice, like a man whose brain had switched to pure survival mode. I burst through the hotel room door and into the hallway, my bare feet slapping against the cold tile, down the stairwell. Faster than the elevator, I wasn't thinking, just moving. My heart was hammering so hard, I thought it might break through my ribs. The lobby was nearly empty. One clerk behind the desk, 2 people waiting for the elevator. I ran straight through the front doors and into the Columbus night air. The parking lot stretched out in front of me, streetlights casting long shadows between the cars. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to keep moving. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I know where you are." I didn't stop to think about how that was possible. I just ran toward the street, flagged down a taxi that was pulling up to the hotel entrance. The driver looked at me like I was insane, which, fair assessment, but he opened the door. "Drive," I said. "Away from here, I don't care where." "Sir, are you okay? Do you need police?" "Just drive, please." We pulled into traffic. I kept looking back through the rear window, expecting to see headlights following us. The taxi driver kept glancing at me in the mirror, clearly debating whether he should call 911 on me instead of wherever we were going. My phone rang. Agent Morrison again. "Michael, where are you?" His voice was tight, controlled, but tight. "In a taxi, moving." "Okay, good. Listen to me. We have units searching for Kozlov. We've got his photo at every hotel, every rental car company, every major intersection in the city. I need you to stay on the line and keep moving. Do not stop. Do not go home. Do not go to any place Daniel would know about." "How long?" I asked. "How long until you find him?" "Could be an hour, could be longer." Agent Morrison paused. "Michael, I need to tell you something. When Daniel left his house, he told his wife he was coming to find you because you'd ruined his life. Those were his exact words. He also said, and I'm being very direct here, that he was going to make sure you never see your family again." The words landed like a punch. "What does that mean? Does that mean—" "It could mean a lot of things," Morrison said carefully, "but we're taking it as a direct threat. That's why we're treating this as urgent." "Jennifer, Linda, the kids, are they safe?" "Federal agents are at your home right now. Your wife and children are secured. Your sister is with them. Nobody's getting near that house without going through us first." I felt something release in my chest. Not relief, exactly, but the smallest reduction in the crushing weight. They were safe. That was the only thing that mattered. "Where do I go?" I asked. "We have a safe house we can move you to, but I need to brief you first. We found something. About Daniel. About what he's been doing beyond the embezzlement." "What do you mean?" "Not over the phone," Morrison said. "The taxi you're in, it's being tracked. We know where you are. Can you ask the driver to head toward the police station on High Street? We'll meet you there. Federal protection, secured building, no way for Kozlov to get near you." I leaned forward. "Can you take me to the police station on High Street?" I asked the driver. He nodded, already changing lanes. "Sure thing. You want me to call them first?" "They know I'm coming," I said. The drive took maybe 7 minutes. 7 minutes of staring out the window, my mind splitting between terror for my family and confusion about what Morrison had said. What else had Daniel done? Beyond stealing $127,000, what else was there? The police station was lit up like a small fortress. 2 Columbus PD officers were waiting at the entrance. They knew my name. They were expecting me. One of them opened the taxi door before I even paid the driver. I handed him a $100 bill for a $40 ride, too fractured to think about anything except getting inside. Agent Morrison was waiting in a conference room. He wasn't alone. There was a woman with him, older, maybe 60, with gray hair and the bearing of someone used to authority. Morrison introduced her as Special Agent Patricia Dawkins, FBI Fraud Division. "Sit down," she said, not unkindly, but not a suggestion. I sat. "Michael, we've been investigating Daniel Kozlov for longer than the embezzlement," Dawkins said. She opened a folder and slid several documents across the table. "The embezzlement was sloppy, almost deliberately sloppy, like he wanted you to find it." "What? Why would he—" "Distraction," she said simply. "We've uncovered evidence that Daniel has been running a separate operation. Identity theft, sophisticated stuff. He's been using client information, names, social security numbers, addresses, to open fraudulent accounts in their names. Credit cards, loans, the full package. He's made approximately $340,000 in the last 2 years through this scheme." I couldn't process the words. They didn't fit together in any way that made sense. That's insane. Why would he do that?" "Because he could," Dawkins said, "and because he was desperate. We've been investigating his personal finances. He has significant gambling debts. We're talking nearly $2 million owed to various illegal gaming operations, some of them very serious people, the kind of people who don't accept excuses." Agent Morrison leaned forward. "When you discovered the embezzlement, Daniel panicked. He realized the FBI would eventually trace everything back to him, but he also realized something else. If he could frame you for both crimes, or at least create enough confusion, he might be able to disappear. Walk away from his debts with the understanding that you'd take the fall." "He wanted me to go to prison," I said. It wasn't a question. "We believe so, yes," Morrison confirmed. "But it didn't work. The evidence was too clean. Your discovery was too documented. So now he's moved to Plan B." "Which is?" "Eliminate the problem," Dawkins said. "You. If you're dead, you can't testify. You can't prove anything. And in the chaos, he might be able to disappear before we trace his location." I felt like the room was tilting. "So he's going to kill me." "That's our working assumption," Dawkins said, "which is why you're here, which is why we have agents at your home, and which is why we need to move you somewhere secure until we locate him." There was a knock on the conference room door. A young officer stuck his head in. "Agent Morrison, we have something. Traffic camera footage from the Renaissance Hotel on Broad Street. Male, matching Kozlov's description, checked in about 90 minutes ago, room 2847. Morrison and Dawkins exchanged a look. Dawkins stood up immediately. "We're moving now. Full tactical unit. Michael, you stay here. You don't move from this building, understood?" I nodded, though I don't think I was actually present in my own body anymore. They left. I sat alone in that conference room for what felt like hours, but was probably only 40 minutes. A young officer brought me coffee I didn't drink, and a blanket I didn't need. I stared at the blank wall and thought about Daniel, about the man I thought I knew, about every lunch we'd had, every client meeting, every time I trusted him with a piece of my business, my reputation, my life. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. FBI told us what happened. Michael, come home. Please come home. I texted back. Soon. As soon as it's safe. I love you. Tell Sophie and Marcus I love them. Another buzz. Another unknown number. This isn't over. I showed it to the officer. He took the phone and handed it to Morrison when the agent returned 20 minutes later, face grim. He's gone, Morrison said. The hotel room was empty. He checked in, left the gun on the bed, and walked out the back exit. He knew we were coming. How? I asked. How would he know? He has a police scanner app, Dawkins said, returning to the room. We found the phone in the hotel room. He was listening to dispatch. When we started moving units, he ran. So he's still out there. For now, Dawkins confirmed. But not for long. We have his photo at every airport, train station, and bus terminal. We've frozen his bank accounts. We've alerted the Cayman Islands authorities. He's cornered. He's just not caught yet. What happens to my family? I asked. How long do we live like this? Morrison sat down across from me. We move him, Daniel, to a federal safe house. Different name, different identity. We're trying to make him comfortable enough to surrender, because the alternative, him running indefinitely, possibly becoming desperate enough to do something truly violent, that's not acceptable to anyone. And if he doesn't surrender, then we find him, Morrison said, and we bring him in. One way or another, Michael, this ends. But it didn't end that night. It didn't end for another 3 days. 3 days of me in a federal safe house in a nondescript suburb of Columbus. 3 days of sleeping in shifts, always listening for sounds outside. 3 days of phone calls with Jennifer, hearing the fear in her voice even as she tried to hide it for the kids' sake. 3 days of reading every news article, every update, searching for some indication that Daniel had been found. On the 4th day, Morrison came to me with an offer. We want to use you, he said, to bring him in. We have a location, a cabin in rural Ohio, about an hour north of here. We think he's hiding there. We want to set up a phone call, arranged through one of his known associates. You call him. You tell him you want to meet. You tell him you're willing to drop the charges, that you want to work something out. We record the conversation. We use it to get a warrant, and we move in. You want me to call the man who wants to kill me? I said. With our people listening on every line, Morrison confirmed, with tactical units ready to move at the first sign of danger. Yes. I thought about Jennifer, about Sophie and Marcus, about the life I wanted to get back to, if such a thing was even possible anymore. Okay, I said, I'll do it. They set it up that afternoon. I was in a secure room at the Federal Building, a script in front of me that I mostly ignored. Morrison and 3 other agents were in the room with me, along with a tech specialist monitoring the phone line. I dialed the number they'd given me, a burner phone registered to an associate of Daniel's, someone the FBI had already identified and turned. Daniel picked up on the 3rd ring. Hello? His voice was different, rough, exhausted. Daniel, it's Michael. Silence. Then, how did you get this number? It doesn't matter. I need to talk to you. I need you to know that I understand now. I understand you were desperate. I understand about the debts, about everything. You understand? Daniel's voice was bitter, angry. You understand? You understand that you destroyed my life? That you went to the FBI like some Boy Scout and destroyed everything I've built? You destroyed it, I said quietly. You made the choices. But I'm not here to argue. I'm here because I want to make this right. I want to offer you a way out. The only way out for me is if you disappear, Daniel said. Morrison leaned forward, shaking his head. Don't engage with that, he mouthed. That's not going to happen, I said. But what I can do is talk to my lawyer. We can work out a settlement. You pay back the money you stole from the firm, the embezzlement, and I'll convince the clients not to press charges. The identity theft, that's federal. I can't help with that. But the embezzlement, at least that part, we can make go away. Another pause, longer this time. You're lying, Daniel said finally. You're with the FBI right now, aren't you? They're listening to this. I didn't answer. Yeah, Daniel said. Yeah, I thought so. You know what, Michael? Fuck you. Fuck you and your perfect life and your perfect family. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to lose everything, to have everything stripped away from you. I'm starting to, I said. No, you're not. But you will be soon. I'm going to... The line went dead. Morrison was already moving, phone to his ear, calling for the tactical team to move on the cabin location. I sat there, listening to the controlled chaos of federal agents executing a search warrant, and I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Daniel wasn't at the cabin. They found evidence he'd been there: food wrappers, a sleeping bag, the gun he'd taken from his house. But no Daniel. He'd left that morning, or maybe the night before. He was gone. He's running, Dawkins said when she came to brief me. He knows the net is closing. He's trying to get to the Canadian border. We have agents at every crossing, but if he makes it across, things get more complicated. When will you find him? I asked. Soon, she said. He's running on empty. No money, no resources. He's desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. She was right. Daniel made his mistake 2 days later at a truck stop just outside of Detroit. He tried to use a credit card to buy gas, a card registered under a false name, but a card he shouldn't have been able to use at all. The fraud alert flagged it. The truck stop clerk, a young man named Kyle with a good eye and a conscience, called the number on the alert card. Federal agents were there in 18 minutes. Daniel didn't resist. That was the thing that surprised me when Morrison told me about it. He just sat in the truck stop parking lot, hands visible, and waited for the agents to cuff him. No gun, no drama, just surrender. I watched the footage later, after everything had been processed and filed and prepared for trial. Daniel in the parking lot, looking older than I remembered him, thinner, defeated. The man I'd built a business with, who I'd eaten lunch with hundreds of times, who I'd thought was my friend, was being led away by federal agents in handcuffs. The trial took 4 months to prepare. 4 months of depositions, of discovery, of building a case so airtight that even Daniel's public defender knew there was no winning. I testified for 3 days. I sat in the witness stand and told the story of finding the discrepancies, of confronting Daniel, of watching my business collapse. I was asked hard questions by the defense attorney, questions designed to make me look complicit, to suggest that maybe I'd known about the theft and covered it up. I answered every one, calmly and truthfully. Daniel was convicted on 17 counts: wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft, aggravated assault for the threats, and attempted murder. The prosecutors argued that his actions, combined with his statements about harming me and my family, constituted an attempt to commit murder. He was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. When the judge read the sentence, Daniel turned around in the courtroom and looked directly at me. His expression didn't change. He didn't mouth anything. He just looked at me, and then the marshals led him away. I haven't seen him since. The aftermath was slow and painful. My business was destroyed. I eventually sold Harrison and Associates to a larger firm for a fraction of what it would have been worth in normal circumstances. The sale covered most of the restitution owed to the clients whose accounts Daniel had raided. The identity theft victims took longer to recover, but the FBI worked with credit agencies to help them rebuild their lives. Jennifer and I stayed together. It wasn't easy. There were nights when she couldn't look at me, when she blamed me for not seeing it sooner, for being blind to what was happening in my own business. I couldn't argue with her. She was right. I had been blind. But we went to therapy. We talked. We fought. And gradually we rebuilt something. Not quite the same as before. That life was gone forever. But real. Solid. I work for a different firm now. I'm no longer a partner. I'm a senior accountant. And I'm okay with that. The humility is actually kind of good for me. Sophie's braces came off last year. Marcus is taller than me now. Jennifer and I take the kids on vacation. Nothing fancy, but time together. Real time. The nightmares stopped, mostly. Every once in a while, I'll wake up at 3 in the morning with my heart racing, convinced I'm back in that hotel room, convinced Daniel is coming for me. But Jennifer is there, and she holds my hand, and I remember that he's in a cell in a federal penitentiary in Ohio, and that we made it. We actually made it. The one thing that still haunts me, the thing that probably always will, is the moment I realized that I brought this into my family's life, not because of anything I did wrong, but because I was successful enough, trusted enough, to be worth stealing from. My wife and children had to live in fear because of who I'd become. There's a certain irony in that. The success I'd worked so hard for, the life I'd built so carefully, it was the very thing that made us vulnerable. But here's what I know now that I didn't know then. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's just the price of having something worth protecting. And if I have to choose between a perfect life and a real one, a life with scars and lessons and second chances, I'll choose real every single time. That's what I tell myself on the nights when I can't sleep. That's what I tell myself when I see Daniel's face in old news articles, or when I get emails from other business owners who've had similar experiences and just need to know that it's possible to survive it. You survive it by showing up, by staying present, by choosing your family over your pride, your safety over your secrets, by understanding that sometimes the most important thing you can do is admit that you were wrong about someone, and then do the hard work of making it right.